TikTok has taken over the internet, turning ordinary people into overnight sensations. Some become beloved influencers, while others gain fame for all the wrong reasons. The platform thrives on viral moments, but sometimes the people behind those moments are far from what they seem. One such case is DK, a TikTok personality who built a following of over 1.7 million people through bizarre thirst traps, outlandish behavior, and live streaming antics. At first, he was seen as nothing more than a cringy internet meme, a walking joke who didn't take himself too seriously. But as time went on, his persona became darker. He tried to rebrand himself as a gangster, only to be exposed as a fraud. Then, the real bombshell dropped: serious allegations involving abuse, violence, and an inappropriate relationship with a minor. This video dives into the disturbing truth behind DK's rise and fall, exposing the reality of internet fame gone wrong. How did a TikTok clown turn into one of the most hated figures online? And why do some influencers push the limits of morality just for clout? Let's uncover the full story. As DK's popularity grew, so did his need to stay relevant. He had already built a reputation for his cringe-worthy thirst traps and live stream antics, but he wanted something more: respect. And what better way to earn that than by posing as a gangster? DK started claiming affiliation with MS-13, one of the most notorious street gangs in the world. To make his act more believable, he got tattoos all over his body, including a bold 13 inked right in the middle of his forehead. He spoke in a tough, streetwise manner and acted like he had been through real gang life. To his younger, impressionable audience, he seemed legit. But to those who actually knew the streets, he was a walking joke. It wasn't long before real gang members and influencers began questioning him. People started pressing him on live streams, asking him where he was from and what set he claimed. Every time, DK dodged the questions, refusing to give clear answers. Then came Lefty Gunplay, a rapper from Los Angeles who had real street connections. He confronted DK live, exposing his lies. DK stuttered, backtracked, and ultimately crumbled under pressure. With just a few words, Lefty confirmed what many had already suspected: DK was nothing more than a poser. And once the internet smelled blood, the downfall began. As DK's thirst traps and goofy antics started losing traction, he desperately searched for a new identity, one that would make him look tough, feared, and respected. That's when he rebranded himself as a gangster, claiming affiliation with MS-13, one of the most dangerous street gangs in the world. To sell the act, DK covered himself in tattoos, including a bold 13 inked right in the middle of his forehead, a number often associated with MS-13. He started speaking in a hardened, streetwise tone, throwing around gang-related slang, and acting as if he had lived a life of crime. At first, his TikTok followers seemed to buy into it, but the real world wasn't as gullible. Soon, real gang members and influencers began calling him out, demanding proof of his so-called affiliation. Whenever pressed, DK dodged questions, gave vague answers, or changed the subject entirely. It didn't take long for people to realize that he was a fraud. The final blow came when rapper Lefty Gunplay, someone with real street credibility, confronted DK on a live stream. Lefty didn't hold back, exposing DK's lies and forcing him to admit he wasn't actually involved in gang life. DK stuttered, backpedaled, and looked completely humiliated. At that moment, the internet saw DK for what he really was: not a gangster, not tough, just another clout-chasing poser. And his downfall had only just begun. After being exposed as a fake gangster, DK still tried to maintain his tough persona. But reality hit hard when he was confronted in public by a group of people who took his chain right off his neck. The moment was caught on camera, and his reaction shattered his entire online image. Instead of standing his ground like the hardened gangster he claimed to be, DK panicked. He didn't fight back, didn't throw a punch. He didn't even try to chase after the person who took his chain. Instead, he called security, pleading for help in front of everyone. The internet had a field day with this. The clip went viral almost instantly, and DK became the laughingstock of TikTok and YouTube. Creators started making videos dissecting the incident, mocking how quickly his tough guy act crumbled under real pressure. Memes flooded the internet, comparing him to other wannabe gangsters who got exposed. His reputation, already shaky after Lefty Gunplay's confrontation, took an even bigger hit. At this point, DK wasn't feared, respected, or even hated. He was just a joke. But the worst was yet to come. Just when it seemed like DK's reputation couldn't sink any lower, shocking allegations came to light, ones far worse than being a poser. Influencer Poncho conducted an interview with DK's ex-girlfriend, and what she revealed sent shockwaves through social media. She claimed that DK was physically abusive, controlling, and manipulative throughout their relationship. But the most disturbing part? She alleged that DK got her pregnant while she was still underage, making their relationship not just toxic, but criminal. As the internet tried to process this, more allegations surfaced. Reports began circulating that DK had a history of violence against his own family, including his own grandmother. According to some sources, he had been arrested for physically assaulting her and even stabbing a family member in a separate incident. When confronted about these claims, DK's reactions only made him look more guilty. Instead of outright denying the accusations, he dodged questions, changed the subject, and played the victim. In one viral live stream, Poncho directly presented screenshots of DK's messages with an underage girl, but DK kept deflecting, saying, "Where does it say her age?" and "Go back to the other screenshot." His defensive and panicked demeanor made people believe he had something to hide. As more text messages and old videos resurfaced, the evidence against DK began piling up. While he never admitted to the accusations, his inability to provide a clear defense spoke volumes. What started as a cringeworthy TikTok persona had now spiraled into something far more disturbing and unforgivable. As the allegations against DK spread, Poncho decided to confront him live. And what followed was one of the most embarrassing moments in TikTok history. Armed with screenshots of messages, videos, and statements, Poncho directly called out DK, exposing him in front of thousands of viewers. Instead of clearing his name, DK panicked. He refused to give straight answers, deflected every question, and kept demanding to see different screenshots, as if that would erase the evidence. His weak attempts to justify the messages only made him look more guilty. When Poncho pointed out that the girl had stated her age, DK stammered, "Where does she say that? Where does it say the date?" His frantic energy and desperate dodging made it painfully obvious. He had no defense. As clips of the live confrontation spread, DK's supporters turned on him. Influencers who had once collaborated with him, including Lowe, publicly cut ties. Even his harshest critics, who once saw him as just a cringeworthy clown, now saw him as something much worse. His reputation was no longer about thirst traps or fake gangster antics. He was now widely seen as a predator. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get worse, they did. DK's fall from grace hit rock bottom when he was arrested for possession of an illegal firearm. The self-proclaimed gangster had finally ended up in a real legal mess, but not for the reasons he had pretended to. Reports surfaced that DK was caught with a weapon modified with a switch, which can turn a handgun into an automatic weapon. In the US, possession of such a weapon can result in up to 10 years in prison. For someone who had spent so much time faking a street life, it was ironic that the one thing that landed him in real trouble had nothing to do with actual gang activity. The internet reaction was brutal. Some people laughed at the irony of his situation, the fake gangster finally facing real consequences. Others were still focused on the allegations, disgusted that someone accused of such serious crimes was still trying to act tough online.